Um, Hello everyone. I'll cut to the chase a little bit, and I am also a refugee. I was also an asylum seeker and an illegal immigrant. Before I talk about my personal experiences, I was only 4 years old at the time, but some things still flash bulb memory into my mind. I thought of telling everyone some facts which would put maybe a context, a little bit of perspective on everything. I found out today that since 1990, there's been almost 35,000 recorded deaths of immigrants coming into Europe. And these are just recorded. A lot of them are not recorded. A lot of them, you don't see the bodies. You don't see the bodies under the sea. Of these deaths, 27,000 were by boat, recorded. And 500 deaths have been recorded in prisons, camps, and during the application of asylum. These are all pretty crazy numbers, and these are just the recorded ones. And for me personally, that puts a perspective on me, another brother, and many others. It's just not just me. I'm not the first, I'm not the last. There's thousands, hundreds of thousands, but how lucky we are that we made it, and just a maybe remembrance of those who didn't. So I was 4 years old when my parents decided to leave Iran. It was the year 2000. It was before 9/11, which makes it a little bit easier. It just happens. We started our journey in Sarajevo, and you are given a phone. You're told to burn your passport, burn any documentation related to you, because if they find it, they know where to take you back to. So I remember waiting about a week in Sarajevo, nervous. You don't know what the hell you're doing. You're placed in a shack along with other people. Then you get a call, you meet someone somewhere, and they take you in a car. You have no idea who they are. They have no idea who you are. Just some smugglers. They take you as far as they can, close to, we went from Bosnia to Croatia. In Croatia, they kept us in a hostel, which the mayor was in on. The mayor was also receiving money on the side to smuggle these people also. So, part of the crazy story is from going from Croatia to Slovenia was by foot. Now, they dropped us near a forest in the middle of the night, and I remember being one of the smallest, youngest, slowest in the group, and my mother was at the back, and we were walking all night until sunrise to the destination. Now, we had a leader, a smuggler leader, I don't know what it was, but it was surreal. It was a man on a white horse, and I remember it really vividly. As a young child, the man rode all the way to the back of us. We were all walking maybe a distance of a kilometre, everyone different paces. And I was at the back, and the guy came up to us and said, "Give me your son," or something along those lines. Pointing at me, said, "You're too slow." And I was just burst out crying, saying, "No, I was holding him up so tight, no, don't let me go, I don't want to be left alone with him." And that's just something that was ingrained in my mind, and I've never forgotten that image of that massive white horse and this man trying to take me. So, the whole night we walked, my mother had an infection in her toe because of it. The grass is wet, the ground is wet, it's raining, it's dark, you can't see so far ahead of you. We got to a point where it almost like a wall came in front of us, but it was just crops, like huge corn rows, just kilometers of it, and you were just walking through and you were following noises. My father was saying you were just following noises. No lights are allowed. Police are there to inspect the people around in the jungle who are prepared for people that are trying to cross the border. So when we finally arrived in Slovenia, we were taken to the capital, Ljubljana, and it was the first time, I think, in 3-4 days that we all got to shower, we all got to actually get some warm water, get some proper food. But it wasn't even done there. And when they took us from Slovenia to the border with Italy, they left us in a shed in the middle of nowhere before they were going to take us. A shed the size of maybe this floor that you're all sitting on, filled with, and these are common stories. This is maybe even minor compared to what real people have to face. Poor people have to go by boat. I don't know what they have to face, but we were filled, honestly, families, 40, 50 people in one room with a skylight, and that was it. They locked the doors and they said, we're going to come in a couple of hours. They didn't come until half a day had gone. And now there's no toilets, there's no water, there's no food. And it was just, as a 4-year-old, it was one of those memories that I don't think I'll ever forget, because it was the first time my father said the word patience to me. I'd never heard the word patience, sab in my language. And I said, Dad, I'm thirsty, is there any water around? And he said, I'm sorry son, you just have to be a little patient. And when my dad was telling me that story back, he said it was one of the most heartbreaking moments to have to tell your child that you have to wait for water. He didn't know what was going to happen. I needed to pee at some point, and I remember being lifted onto 2 shoulders of men who were on each other's shoulders just to reach the skylight so we could do our business out of the window instead of inside. So eventually when the gentleman came to open our door, all of the men I remember rushed, they were screaming, shouting, and the man just said, if you kill me, you're all dead, you're all gone. You can't do anything. So eventually we were taken by car to the border. My mother and my father were separated. My mother said that was the most afraid she'd ever been in her life. She was crying and wailing that she didn't want to be separated from her husband. She thought she'd never be seen again. And then the first time I really remember seeing my parents weep of happiness was when they crossed some innocent fence, and then officially you're in Italy. And then you're in the western side of Europe, which we're on the side. From Italy we went by train, undocumented, all the way to France, got caught on the way, took us back, all the way back to where we started. They processed us in the police station, but then they let us go in the middle of the night. They said, we have nothing to do for you. And my father said, you've left us on the street, we have no bed, we don't know where to go. And so they took us to a train station where they opened a door into a hallway filled with other refugees that were just sleeping there. Everyone was in on it. Everyone knew what was going on. So eventually we went all the way back again to France. From France, my parents, without knowing the language, without knowing anything, trekked all the way up to Calais, where they gave themselves in because they didn't know how else. And so we were in the Calais camp for about a week, and everything was on money as well. People are taking their life savings. If you lose this, if you can't make it, you're taken back. You start from zero. And this is after my parents and every family's worked their whole lifetime saving up to make a journey, make this change in their life. It's a form of freedom. And we were there for a week. It took us 2 attempts to go through by lorry. I remember another clear memory of being put into lorry truck tires in the back of a lorry, which was stacked on top of each other, so you had this tube to go down into. And we were all put in separate ones. And then we made 5 minutes movement, and then after 5 minutes everything stopped. We heard some noises, some flashlights, some blinding flashlights, and I was just picked up. I remember being picked up by the police, being put back into a car and being driven back to the camp. And that's 1 attempt done. That's 1,000 euros gone. And 1,000 euros back then, and for anybody who's traveling, is crazy. So my father spoke to some people. Luckily we got put into a lorry, and then somehow this one just got through. It was just one of few who were lucky enough. And then it was the second time when I saw them really crying, and thought they were finding it. What's crazy, there's a really funny part of the story actually. We had two other gentlemen with us in the lorry, and they were really afraid that we were going to go to some next place in the UK, maybe some part in Scotland or Wales, and they really wanted to be in London. So as soon as we got through into the UK, they were panicking. They were like, we need to get out, we need to get out. And we were stuck in the back of the lorry. So what they started doing was they started beating at the back of the metal of the lorry next to where the driver is, to maybe let the driver hear us. Bang, bang, bang. The driver couldn't hear anything. So what they did, they, through the slit that we come in, they took their shirts off, they hung it out of the back of the lorry, and the driver could see from his wind mirror that there's some arm with the clothes hanging out like a flag. So he pulled over in a gas station, petrol station, and then called the police. Honestly, the police were very nice. They said, don't worry, we're going to take care of you, we're going to take you to a station. They got translators. And honestly, I really feel lucky that back in that time, especially pre-9/11, that people were honestly more kind to immigrants, really. Nowadays, they're treated completely different. Treated, as Katie Hopkins says, like they're cockroaches. When I look back, as I've grown older, I've tried to think about why my parents did this. Really, why did they do this? Did they do this for themselves? I've asked them, and every time I get the same response that it is only because of you. It was only because you were born into this world. We lived our life, really. They're not fluent speakers of English. They're not maximising their experience in the UK. They're working tirelessly, and they're paying for my university fees. They're doing all that they can just for me, and that really puts a perspective. When you have that much love for something, for someone, for your child, it's crazy what people really do. And it's the same example for every migrant, every illegal immigrant. They're doing it out of love. They're doing it out of love for themselves because they know they deserve better. They're doing it out of love because they have other people that are really relying on them. You'll see often many children being taken, and these kids at a very young age. People also make their children go by themselves. Some people would think, how can you do that for your child? But it's because that risk is for them worth it. And we will take it for granted. We're in the UK. We've spent so much time here. I've been here for 20 years now. So it's crazy and humbling, really. When you get to be a part of something like this, really makes you more in touch, rather than the feeling of diaspora that I'm sure a lot of people feel, not being connected to one place, not feeling belonged as a true Iranian, but at the same time not really fully British. But I think a lot of people, especially in this room, and a lot of immigrants in general, people of multi-ethnicities, feel the same. But I think that's what really draws us together, and that's what helps us see the world as something more wholesome, more together, as people aren't separated by borders or race or who they are. But we're all really very lucky to just be here and be with each other. And thank you very much.
Yasmin and Mark.